excited to be. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen so that we can get started. Um, there's always so many things that come up when I share. Thank you all again just for having us here. We're really looking forward to being here and to talking with you about what we do at the Robert F. Smith Explorer Family History Center. My name is Hannah Scruggs, like Shannon introduced us. I'm here with Edwina Parks and Lisa Crawley, my colleagues in the Robert F. Smith Explorer Family History Center. And today we're just going to talk a bit about our operations, the places that we work, and the ways that we share genealogy and do public genealogy and work with the general public within the National Museum of African American History and Culture. So the Robert F. Smith Explorer Family History Center has been open since 2017, so a year after the museum opened in 2016. We just had our 9th birthday. So the Family History Center has been in operation for 8 years, and our esteemed colleague Lisa Crawley has been there the whole time. And so we're going to talk today a bit about how the things that we do and how that's changed a bit over time and the ways our programming has expanded and shifted. We're going to be talking about how we offer genealogy sessions, the things that we offer and go over with our visitors. We're going to be talking about the public programs that we do, including community curation. And then we're also going to talk about the outreach that the Family History Center does, as well as the exhibits that are located on the 2nd floor of the museum, which is where the Explorer Family History Center is located. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Edwina.
Thank you, Hannah, and good morning to everyone. We are hoping that most of the people in the session today have been at the museum, or if not, have a visit planned in the very near future. When you arrive at the museum, you will find us on level 2 in the Family History Center, and we are there. Staff is there at the Family History Center on Tuesdays and Thursdays, which we have dubbed as Genealogy Tuesdays and Thursdays. We offer on-site, in-person sessions on those days. Session times are at 11 a.m., noon, 2 p.m., and 3 p.m. We encourage you to come in and sign up for a session because sessions are available on a first-come, first-served basis. During those sessions, you will be assisted by staff and volunteers who will help you search public records in genealogy databases. So these on-site or in-person sessions, as I like to call them, are designed primarily as an introduction to genealogy research. Many of our visitors have not started their research, and therefore there is high interest in getting familiar with the tools of genealogy research, and they are surprised and delighted to find us there on level 2 when they come. You may also decide to participate in a session, even if you are at the intermediate or advanced level in your research. However, these cases are generally better served in virtual sessions, and we'll say more about virtual sessions next. Hannah, if you want to advance the slide, thank you. Virtual sessions are available on the Zoom platform. And the concept of virtual sessions versus in-person sessions sort of defines what is meant by genealogy, public genealogy, on a hybrid platform. If the individual is not able to participate in an on-site session, we encourage them to email us at the Family History Center for a virtual appointment. Virtual appointments are available to all, but are particularly useful for those who are in the intermediate or advanced stages of research, who may have, in general, have hit a brick wall, so to speak. And we all have heard of the expression, the 1870 brick wall. So if you are stuck at a particular point, you may want to email us to schedule a virtual. Virtual sessions may also involve the recommendation of resources that are outside of genealogy databases. And here we want to dispel the notion that the Smithsonian has files or collections on your ancestors. A lot of people come to the Smithsonian believing that we have in depth research on everyone's family history, which is really not true. We like to talk about the resources that are available for African American genealogy research, but that does not really mean that those resources are housed within the Smithsonian. But we are there to help you locate resources that are outside of genealogy databases, and we'll say more about that later in the presentation. So again, you will email the Family History Center if you're interested in a virtual session. Hannah, next slide. Thank you. Whether you are participating in person or virtually, the goals are basically the same in African American genealogy. Uh, we ask you to identify an ancestor that you want to know more about who was born prior to 1950, and we are attempting to trace that ancestor's family back to 1870 at a minimum, uh, and we're going generation by generation back to 1870, which is known and has been coined by Robert Ings as freedom's first generation. And we say that because the 1870 census is the first census following emancipation and the first census on which African Americans are identified by name. So we are in the process of going from 1950, which is the latest census which has been released to the public, and identifying enslaved ancestors generation by generation going back to that point. If we find ancestors on the census prior to 1870, then we know that they have been freed or are free Blacks prior to emancipation. We are also involved in tracing free people of color and their families prior to the Civil War. So we're going beyond the 1870 census, hopefully, by looking at slave schedules and researching potential slave holders. Next slide. One of our functions there during the public sessions are to familiarize individuals with genealogy and newspaper databases that will assist them in their family history research. The main tools that we use in the Family History Center include Ancestry Library Edition and FamilySearch.org. Um, Not only do we have African Americans coming to the Family History Center, but we have many international visitors who also have interest in tracing their family roots. And we are using Family Search in particular to help them with the international searches. We also like to educate our visitors on databases such as Heritage Quest, ProQuest, Historic Black Newspapers, and newspapers.com. And we want to create awareness that these databases are not only available at our museum, but they are available in public libraries. Many people don't realize that public libraries have these resources because they are subscription services. And most of them are institutional services, which you may not be able to use as an individual and get an individual subscription. So we want to make people aware of how they can access these resources once they leave the museum. Also, part of that process is teaching individuals how to find and interpret public records because designing the search is critical to finding your ancestors, as most of you on this call already know. Next slide. So we get back to the question of what does the Smithsonian actually have in-house? And as I said, we do not have collections specific to your family history, but we can tailor your session to help you find regional resources. A very critical part of doing your genealogy research is to understand where your ancestors were, geographically speaking, and then becoming familiar with the resources that are available in those regions that will help with your research. Here we have used Maryland as an example. There are tons of resources on African American genealogy at the Maryland State Archives. There is a guide to the history of slavery in Maryland. It's very important to understand what was going on in the state where your ancestors were located. There are also certificates of freedom and manumission available there. And there is what is known as the 1832 Census of Free Negroes in Calvert County, Maryland, that may be helpful in your research. Other states have excellent resources. South Carolina is another state that has plenty of in-state resources to help with your research. Mississippi and Alabama also. So you will have resources not at the Smithsonian, but in places like the National Archives for military records, state libraries and archives, as I've just mentioned. You're also going to have university libraries that will have collections that will be helpful. You will have local genealogical and historical societies that will provide sources for your research, as well as local libraries and county courthouses. Some of these places have both digital and physical collections. It's important to understand that all records are not digitized. So, as a first step, you will want to visit the websites of these various entities, find out what you can uh, research external to their operation, and then also find out what will require an actual in-person visit in order to access. You will also be instructed or guided in requesting vital records that may not be digitized. Every state has not digitized all of their vital records. So we are also engaged in helping people understand how to find those birth, marriage, and death certificates that you may not find online and have exhausted your search for online copies of those vital records. So these are a few of the things that we are involved in when we have both in-person and virtual sessions. At this point, I'd like to hand it off to Hannah, who'll talk about our public programs and the community curation project.
Thank you, Edwina. So, another part of what we do at the Family History Center is offer public programs. We try to bring speakers from all over the country, focused on a new book that's been published, some sort of new genealogy, um, not discovery, but methods, genealogy methods. And we also have workshops from time to time in the Family History Center. Um, we've been having public programs since 2017. So this has been a standard in what the Family History Center does, in addition to public programs, or in addition to our virtual and in-person genealogy sessions. And we see the public programs as a way to draw in our local community from the DMV area. Because it is really the folks that are coming to the public programs are often ones that know about the Family History Center, and have been involved in our events. Prior to the pandemic, we would have second Saturday genealogy programs where every second Saturday we would bring in a speaker. and host them on the second floor in the Family History Center. So I think we have Melvin Collier at the top there. And that was one of our second Saturday programs prior to 2020. And we would, set up chairs in the Family History Center and host the programming there. At the end of 2019, I believe we had Michael Twitty in Oprah Winfrey Theater, and we started having more programs in the Oprah Winfrey Theater as well. So we have different spaces within the museum where we host our public programming, and different folks and people speaking to different parts of family history and genealogy work, whether that's sort of cultural heritage and traditions that are passed on, whether that is doing actual genealogy, either genetic or documentary research. And at the bottom, we have Dr. Blair Kelly, who wrote the book Black Folk, which was also started as a project really based on looking at her family history. And we supported her in some of that research. So she came to speak for us too. That was in June of 2023, I believe. So we have a diverse calendar of programming. After 2020, we also made sure to make all of our programs hybrid. So even though we were back to in-person programming for the most part, we often do have a virtual component or a live stream that's happening at the same time, so that we can have people participating that don't necessarily live locally. And the goal, again, like I said, is really to bring in folks that are speaking to some aspect of family or community history, to share a bit about what they've been working on, um, or a new book that's been launched, things like that. Another part of our public programming is community curation. And we take the Family History Center on the road. The Family History Center is part of a larger project within the the Museum of African American History and Culture, where it's we do digital history. It's a sort of digital history project called the Robert F. Smith Center for the Digitization and Curation of African American History and Culture. Our team travels throughout the country, and in some ways, we're an outreach and preservation arm of the museum. So one of our team's signature programs is called Community Curation, and it's not just family history programming. We also digitize people's photos and videos, and work with institutions, Black cultural institutions throughout the country on preserving their items. And we also bring other folks from the museum with us. So we're kind of, like I said, an outreach arm of the museum. We bring the museum to different places throughout the country. The Family History Center's role in that is that we organize programming alongside different communities that we're working with, and work to bring genealogy programming to them. So the picture that you see on the left is a picture of Lisa in Nashville in 2023. So we worked with the Nashville chapter of OGS to do a genealogy presentation there. We've been in Baltimore. I have a list of the cities where we've been. I won't read them all out. But we've been to several cities. And in 2020, this year, we're looking at the communities that we work to that are closer to home. We've also done this with some places within the DMV on smaller scales and at different levels. And in 2026, we're going to be in Buffalo, New York. So we're really excited to continue to work with the Black genealogy groups there. Um, a lot of the work that we do, our goal when we go on the road is not to do the same thing over and over again, not to just present on the things that we do, but to work with communities and to work alongside communities, to do something regionally specific and something that is useful to the groups there, and to sort of utilize the resources of the Smithsonian in order to support programming for genealogy or family history groups in those areas. So I think that's one of the really fun things that we get to do as part of the museum, is get a sense of the conversations that are happening throughout genealogy communities throughout the country, see where there's overlap, but also see where things are different, and what different groups are working on. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to Lisa to talk about outreach.
Thank you, Hannah. So our staff also offers outreach opportunities throughout the year. Many of our outreach events are lunch and learn lectures for employee groups of companies and government agencies. We've worked with groups from the far West, Ohio, Pennsylvania, and here in the DMV. And we've worked with a variety of organizations, including senior centers and church groups, Jack and Jill chapters, and a group from Woodlawn is shown here in this slide with Edwina. Our typical outreach presentation consists of a 40 to 45-minute lecture, followed by a Q&A. Next slide. Our presentations include Journeys in Genealogy, where we highlight the basic tools to get you started in tracing your family tree. And we often share an 1870 case study, exploring the story of Robert Northern's family of Harlem, New York, tracing their ancestry to Solomon Northern, an oysterman and Civil War contraband sailor who is located out of Hampton, Virginia. Next slide. For an intermediate audience, our Breaking the 1870 Brick Wall highlights case studies from our own families, including my Crawleys, where I traced my paternal line to my great-grandfather, pictured here, John William Crawley, who migrated from the northern neck of Virginia to central New Jersey. We then locate John's father, Joseph Crawley, born enslaved in the early 1830s, finding him on inventories of 2 generations of Sam Crawley's family of Warsaw, Virginia. And that is shown here on the slide to the right. It's a 1833 inventory where he's listed as Joe when he was just a child. And again, that would be John Crawley's father, Joseph Crawley. Next slide. Genealogy and Records of Intrigue explores a Freedmen's Bank record of an enslaved weaver by the name of Holland Brooks of Pitt County, North Carolina. It highlights the plight of her family during slavery in the Civil War, and then traces her descendants into the 21st century using reverse genealogy. And so those are some of the main presentations that we shared during our outreach sessions. And outreach is also hybrid, meaning many of them are virtual, where we give these presentations to lunch and learn groups, but they can also be on site. And when they're on site, they're always in the DMV. So we go out to senior centers and other places as well. Next slide. We also curate small scale exhibits. So when visitors enter the Family History Center, they'll find a dedicated area for small scale exhibits featuring a theme related to African American genealogy. Our current exhibit, The Still Family, Forging Pathways to Freedom, explores the history of Levi and Charity Still, the parents of William Still, the famous Underground Railroad conductor of the Pennsylvania Anti-Slavery Society. Visitors will learn how Levi, an enslaved father on Maryland's Eastern Shore, negotiated his manumission in the 1790s, providing for his freedom, and how his wife, Sydney, escaped twice with their children, finally relocating with her husband, Levi, to a farm deep in the Pine Barrens of South Jersey. The exhibit also highlights 3 of their children, including Peter, who was sold south and then is later reunited with his family. Okay. James Still, a noted homeopath and author. Can someone please, yeah, thank you. James Still, a noted homeopath and author, and William Still and his wife Letitia, who assisted nearly 1,000 runaways from Philadelphia who were escaping from the Upper South. Next slide. Three of our other exhibits include The Rise of Descendant Communities, which explores descendant communities at Montpelier in Virginia and Somerset Plantation and Stagville Plantation in North Carolina. Also, Millie Christine, The Life and Legal Battles of the Carolina Twins, which highlights the story of conjoined twins Millie Christine, who traveled internationally with the circus and whose parents launched a lawsuit to gain control of them. And then there is Pauli Murray's Proud Shoes, a classic in African-American genealogy, which is based on her 1950s family memoir. Both Millie Christine and Pauli Murray's Proud Shoes are available as digital exhibits on the museum's website in Searchable Museums. So since you haven't seen them, you do have the opportunity to look at the digital version of both those exhibits. And I'm going to turn the program back over to Hannah.
Thank you. So this is also just kind of a reminder that the National Museum of African American History and Culture, we still have free time tickets online that you can reserve at nmahc.si.edu. Tickets are available 1 month in advance if you would like to come visit us. We're open on Mondays from noon to 5:30 and Tuesday through Sundays from 10 a.m. to 5:30 p.m. The only day of the year that we're closed is Christmas. And the museum is still, still open and still active. So just putting a reminder there. Thank you so much for having us today. We really enjoyed talking to you. And if you have any questions about what we do, any more questions about what we do, or you would like to set up a virtual session, you can email us at familyhistorycenter@si.edu. The virtual sessions, as Edwina described, are assigned to one of the three of us. So we look forward to seeing you in that capacity as well. And thank you so much. And I guess I'm turning it back over to Shannon.
Yes, thank you ever so much. That was a beautiful and informative presentation, and we are so thankful that you were able to present it here today on this Saturday morning. We are now going to move into our second presentation by Mr. Thom Reed of FamilySearch International. And after that, we will have our question and answer session.
Hey, everybody. How you doing? You hear me okay? I didn't get a chance to test my sound or anything beforehand, but I take it I'm getting thumbs up, so I'm getting some good response from folks. So thank you. It's just a treat to be with you, and it's really a treat to follow that presentation, learning more about what's happening at the National Museum of African American History and Culture. So Edwina, Lisa, Hannah, thank you so much for what you shared with us today. And I look forward to coming back. I put in the chat, I plan to be in the DMV hopefully in February. And if I do, I'm definitely coming in and checking and seeing all the things that you've got going on there, and would love to help support you in any way, and are glad that FamilySearch has been a partner that you can count on and use to help people as they start their discoveries. So my presentation today is I'm talking about uncover your Black roots using FamilySearch. And for those of you who don't know me, I'm a program manager for FamilySearch. I have been responsible for the African American experience for several years now. And I also support our efforts in the Southeastern United States with archivists and supporting various events and things that go on in the Southeast. Here's all my stuff. So if you need to get a hold of me somehow, you should be able to track me down. Although I will admit, and I apologize, I just saw like a note on Facebook Messenger. I'm not good on Facebook Messenger messages. So I'm much better if you email me or if you send me an email or a message through LinkedIn, you can connect with me there. And you can actually download my card. I'm going to throw up a lot of QR codes today, and hopefully on your screen, you're able to have access to those. But if not, just screenshot the screen. It's fine. and you can get a hold of me some way. So I'm excited because uh, registration is open for Roots Tech. So I did this presentation actually at Roots Tech 2024. We've since had Roots Tech 2025 earlier this year, but I'm now giving a plug for Roots Tech 2026. It's the largest family history conference, both online and in person. It's free for anybody who wants to participate online. Last year, we had over 10 million visitors to our website during the conference as part of our things there and the materials we offer there. But you cannot beat the in-person experience and the learning and things that you gain from Roots Tech. So I really, really hope that you'll consider joining us. We have some new presenters this year from the African American genealogy community. And so there'll be some things specifically for you. I won't necessarily be presenting this presentation, but it's already online at rootstech.org. So if you need to, check out what's going on at Roots Tech, registration is now open, lowest price of the season for the in-person conference. It's always free for if you're going to stay home and do virtual. And I actually presented this in 2024. And so if you go on the Roots Tech website, you'll see a version of this presentation. I've adapted it a little bit today to meet your needs, but you'll see a version of this presentation there that you can also watch that I did live in person. So what are we going to do today? Today we are going to uncover your Black roots using FamilySearch and kind of focus on three different things. Some FamilySearch products, namely a landing page that we've created, full text search, which is all the rage. If any of you are familiar with FamilySearch and what we've been doing since 2024 with full text search. And then going back to the Freedmen's Bureau record search, I saw Shannon put the Freedmen's Bank records are an invaluable resource because of the names of families that are in there. And those are included in the experience we created for the Freedmen's Bureau record search, which is where I had the opportunity to speak at the Oprah Winfrey Theater there at the National Museum of African American History and Culture. I'm going to talk about some features. So you may not realize that you can narrow your results when you're searching for an individual by their race. So if you're looking for specifically an African American ancestor that might have been noted that in the historical record, there's a way to do that. And there's also a way to connect enslavers with the slave holder or enslaved people with their slave holders using this other relationships feature. One of the strategies in doing slave ancestor research is to note the slaveholder and then look at the records of that slaveholder to find information on the enslaved or those who they enslaved. And this is a way to make a connection between people in the FamilySearch family tree with that relationship. And then some resources. I cannot stress how much FamilySearch is a big website. A lot of people, how many of you have been overwhelmed by what FamilySearch has had to offer? You can put a thumbs up or a thumbs down. I don't know if you can do thumbs down, but sometimes the website can be immense and it's hard to know what where you can find what you need to find. But we have the research wiki, the blog, and then I'll talk about our online genealogy consultation, similar to what's happening at the Smithsonian. So let's just dive right into it. I don't know if I can see questions at all, Shannon, or anything, but I will pause between each of kind of these topics and allow for some questions along the line, maybe one or two questions to clarify some things, and then we can hold some overall questions at the end. But I want to share this landing page. So this is kind of a crazy long URL, and so I'm helping you with the QR code here. And this was my baby, launched February 6th of 2024. It was specifically to help with African American research. And you can actually find it on the FamilySearch homepage today. If you go to familysearch.org and scroll down, there'll be a little circle there that will bring you to this page. And I'll tell you a little bit more about why we created this page, actually. It was born out of some data and analysis that we did. We worked with an organization called Heart and Mind Strategies to do a marketing research project, for lack of a better term, where we spoke to African Americans in the general public and asked them, wanted to learn many things about them. And so we did an online survey of 300 people that was nationally representative. And then we did in-depth interviews where we met with folks and talked in depth about some of the various things that we wanted to learn more about.
What is it about the history?
And sorry, we'll need to, okay, thank you. I didn't know if that wasn't a question, was it? I don't
I
think
do
so.
not believe so.
Let me keep going. So here the summary of what we found. And really this is the first major study. I know Ancestry has done a similar kind of study, but not to the same extent that we did. And here are some of the research findings that we had that you'll see here. It's a lot of words, so bear with me as I kind of read through this. But there's really an obligation amongst us to our ancestors, in addition to doing good in the community and doing one's duty. These are the things that we learned from speaking to folks, and really the pathway of engagement is about people having these quick discovery experiences and then looking back and learning from the past with the kind of sense of pride, purpose, and fulfillment and wholeness. We've seen how, connecting with your ancestors can complete you in some ways. And we heard that loud and clear from individuals we talked to. We specifically wanted to understand our position in the marketplace and how we might appeal to more African Americans who are trying to do their research. And it just said be a player in the industry. So I'm here with the descendants of the GU 272. I'll be at the Afro-American Historical and Genealogical Society's annual conference. You see me and others on my team. We are in this space. And we want to continue to work with partners that are well-respected leaders in the space in the field of Black family history. So we have many relationships that are growing every every month. It seems like there's more people. I think one of the most recent relationships we've been working on is with the Black Pearls of Genealogy and David Anthony Taylor. Some of you may be familiar with the work he's doing there. And then obviously becoming that recognized expert in the field. And it's through things like this, presenting this research and sharing these resources and tools with you all. And then providing these transformative discovery experiences that are engaging and tailored to African Americans. What we found is people, yes, they may want to sit down and research, but that's actually not the norm. What people want is they want to be able to find something on their family. And so however we can provide those engaging experiences right up front will help. And then, we have others in the industry, others who have come to FamilySearch from industry who are Black, or it's not just me. I promise you, Thom Reed is not the only Black employee at FamilySearch. We have several others, and obviously a large staff from the work that we're doing on the continent of Africa, but also more and more individuals coming to work for us and providing their input into the Black experience on FamilySearch. And one thing we've heard loud and clear, and we've seen, there is a diminishing trust in the genealogy space, and with the advent of DNA and with the current state of affairs in the United States with data privacy and security. And so FamilySearch has upped its game in terms of its reputation for data privacy and security. And we want you to know that your data is safe with us, and we do so much to protect it. We have a large staff of folks that are there simply to protect data. And then we want to provide live support and access to records while continuing to offer our services for what my mama used to say, free 88. So if FamilySearch services are free, and we're just expanding our access to records, hence my relationship with state archivists and other record custodians in the Southeast. And we have live support, which I'll talk about a little bit later. So that's the research that led to creating this page. And again, if you didn't catch the page, by the way, I should have mentioned earlier, I created a handout, and Shannon, I'm not sure if that handout's been posted in the chat or how that handout will be distributed, but it has all the links to everything that we've talked about here is in that. So you won't have to necessarily screenshot and use the QR code or what have you. I won't be sharing this actual PowerPoint presentation, but the handout will help you get to all these things so you can have access to them afterwards. But this page is all about just making a quick discovery experience, well, like we learned from our African American audience survey, where you simply put in a name and as much information as you have. The only name that you really need to have is the surname or last name. And you click on the little search button after you throw some things in here, and boom, you'll come up with these historical records based on the terms that you inputted. Now, why is this kind of important? Well, John Henry Biggers is not a very unique name racially. There are many white John Henry Biggers or John Biggers and black John Biggers. These results have been specifically filtered for African Americans. That's what this page is all about, is helping you find your African American ancestor first, so that you don't have to sort through the noise of a generalized search on FamilySearch, where you might get all the John Henry Biggers, white, black, in between, all over the world. This one is focused on the United States and focused on those who are black or African American. And if you were to sign in, you'd actually be able to see some of these filters that we have behind the scenes that note the result, or that kind of represent the results that you're looking at here, where race in the records that we found on John Henry Biggers included him as being designated as Negro, black, or with a B, right? And so that's one way we just want to get you right in there. And we also on this page wanted to highlight some of the relationships we have. You see right in the center, the National Museum of African American History and Culture, and some of our other relationships that we have, for example, 10 Million Names, Our Black Ancestry, and the International African American Museum are a few of the organizations we are continually working with to help. We also wanted to provide here a resource to help you. And this is the step-by-step resource that you can take, especially as a beginner. A lot of times beginners don't know where to start. And, you know, the temptation is to go, you know, I'm going to go do a free ancestry trial and get in there 7 days and try and look for my people. But if you've never been on Ancestry, you don't know what you're looking for. And so we've deployed these steps, or kind of written these 10 steps for reclaiming your African roots, that start with write what you already know. A lot of times things will reveal themselves if you just sit down and take a moment to write down the things that you've been told throughout the years. And then if you look for artifacts at home, we put this actually into a guide. It's a PDF document now that you can scan this QR code to download the booklet, but it's called 10 Steps to Reclaiming Your African Roots, a guide to navigating African American genealogy. And in there, it goes through these 10 different steps, things like, you know, searching. When you first set up an account, don't go looking necessarily for historical records, look for people in the FamilySearch family tree. That's one of the things. Or telling you about specific record collections that may be helpful that are unique to African American family history research. And so I encourage you to download this. If you have events, for example, this is great to have a resource, print it out, take it to your local copy shop and print it out and have a couple of copies to share and show people what they can do. And then you can also share with them the link to this PDF so that they can download it and follow these steps. Earlier, I talked about like these engaging, you know, transformative experiences. And one thing people like to do, I mean, don't you like to find out if you're related to some people, right? It's interesting. We did this. We've updated this depending on what time of year with some specific people. We all know, obviously, Rosa Parks, Muhammad Ali, but how many of you know Lincoln Alexander? He was a pioneering politician and the first Black Canadian to be in a member of the Parliament here. And so when we were doing some things for Canada, we wanted to feature Lincoln Alexander. And it's kind of funny. I'm actually not in my office in Salt Lake City, Utah today. I'm in Edmonton, Alberta, Canada, giving you this presentation. And I forgot that we put Lincoln Alexander on here. So I just some crazy travel that I need to do, but I'm glad I'm able to still do this virtually with you all as well. But you can click on these and see if you're related to any individual. For example, you can see the profile for Cassius Marcellus Clay Jr. and his brief life sketch and photos that we have of him and other sources. You see the 22 sources that are in the FamilySearch family tree for Muhammad Ali as well. And then if you sign in and you have a FamilySearch account with your family tree on it, you can see if you're related to Cassius Clay or Muhammad Ali. So that's kind of a fun way to get people in and help them see things on famous, relatives and famous stars or what have you. And then we wanted to provide you some resources on this page, specifically to find a center. There are over 6,000 FamilySearch centers around the world, and one at a theater near you. I mean, one close to you, I'm sure. Just click on there, and you can find out if you can go to a location. Like where I'm at now is in Edmonton, Alberta, and we have a FamilySearch center here in the building that I'm at, where people can come at specific times to get in-person genealogy help with volunteers that are here to help you. Or you can schedule a consultation. We'll talk a little bit more about that with our virtual consultation, online consultation program that we have, or join our community. We've got Facebook communities galore. I love them. You see me on Facebook posting in several of them, but we also have a FamilySearch community of FamilySearch users specifically that are focused on African-American research that may have some tips and tricks for you that you might not see in another thread. So consider joining the African-American FamilySearch community, but as you go to the bottom of the page. And then we, ask some kind of interesting questions on, can African-Americans and Black Canadians trace their heritage? This was more for SEO, to be honest, because these are the questions that a lot of people are searching for when they're looking for things online. So any questions or anything that anyone has relative to this landing page? Again, you can go back to that screen, the original screen, or on the FamilySearch screen. I think I can show it. Let me see if I can do this. Hold on one second. If we're on here, and there it is. That's right. Hopefully you're seeing this, but I'm just on FamilySearch.org logged in, and this African American records takes you to the page that we talked about, right? So that's the page, and that's what it looks like today, right now, for you to see. Any questions, Shannon, for me, or anything in the chat that I need to be aware of?
I think that you answered the main question that was in the chat regarding the specific link to the African American section on FamilySearch, which
Yes.
I'd already answered as well at about 4 minutes ago or so.
Okay. So no, you can go to FamilySearch.org, scroll down on the page, and get to it now. When I gave this presentation in 2024, it wasn't on there yet. So I apologize. I need to update the slides. The next thing I wanted to talk about, again, that was one kind of product that we created was the African American landing page. We also have a new product called Full Text Search, which came out in 2024. My slides on this are slightly dated because it's just improved and enhanced ever since it was released. What Full Text Search is all about, and here's a link that you can go directly to it, so you can scan the QR code here, or you can go to the link that's directly here, or actually, since live is working, I'm going to go back up to the top. If you go to FamilySearch.org, let's just go to our standard FamilySearch page, and you click on Search, you now have the option to select Full Text Search in addition to our historical record search, image search, family tree search, genealogy search, all that kind of stuff. So if you click on Full Text, it will take you to this page. And why is full text kind of an important thing? Let me get back to my presentation here, if you will. Full text actually allows you to search within records that have not been indexed. Traditionally, FamilySearch has done a digitizing to indexing to publication model, right? And that indexing, we've relied on you all as indexers. Like, how many of you all, indexed the Freedmen Bureau records back in 2015, 2016, right? We relied on human indexers to do that work. But with the growth of generative AI and those kinds of technologies, the need to have humans do that work it actually slows it down. And so we can't always index everything, but we can run our images from digitized historical records. We can run those images through some large language models and things like that to be able to transcribe them and make them immediately searchable. And that's what's happening. We are publishing over, I think I think Ian told me yesterday, don't quote me on this, actually quote me on this. We have 3 billion images in the full text search platform now, and we're constantly adding more. I'm going to talk to you about the Freedmen Bureau records after this, but I'm just going to give you a hint now. All Freedmen Bureau records that were previously unindexed from FamilySearch have been added to full text search and are searchable, regardless if they had genealogical value or not. Records of assistant commissioners and things like that, things that we didn't do as part of the Freedmen's Bureau project, are now available through full text search. So hopefully that explains a little bit more. I might get several questions, but let me just do a quick demo and then I'll take questions on here. And this is just some screenshots of it, but let's say I knew that there was an enslaved ancestor that I'm looking for, and he'd been referred to by the name of Negro Charles. And I go ahead and just type that in the box. So if you see up here, it says start your search. If you type that in, Negro Charles, and I put it in quotes because I want it to be right next to each other. And when I click search, it will actually show me 7,076 results where Negro Charles or Charles Negro are in various records. You see a Baltimore probate in 1830 or an enslavement record from 1826 in North Carolina. These have typically been records that have been extremely difficult to find if your ancestor was in them in 1826. But just with full text search, putting that in that text box, and with all the probate records, wills and deeds, and everything that we've added, it comes up just this quickly. I mean, it's amazing. And so I was looking for actually them in Kent, Maryland, and here's a will from 1870 that talks about this, Negro Charles being 21 years of age. And I can actually click on that link now, and it shows the document that it came from and the words that I used to search. You see on the right here, it says show keywords. It's because that's why it's highlighted in the document, to help you focus on that image. Before, it was just a viewable image and you had to browse and turn the pages. Now you can get to this and you have the transcript as well. It says here, I hereby certify that Negro Charles, now applying to the Register of Wills or Wills of the County for a certificate of his freedom. So he was trying to get his free papers, and we have the document that shows that, right? There's a video that's on the page that, and you can scan the QR code, that gives you kind of the high level. And I wanted to give you a high level. I could do an hour-long presentation on it, and actually FamilySearch employees have done it. So remember earlier I told you that my Roots Tech presentation from 2024 is on rootstech.org. So is the library of all our classes that we've done at Roots Tech and webinars that we do every month. Those are on there as well. So you can watch an hour-long presentation about full text search, in addition to see this like 4.5-minute kind of overview on how to search on full text search. So let me pause there. I'm sure there's several questions about full text search. I'll take a couple because I don't want to go down that rabbit hole without sharing the full suite of things that we have to offer you. But anything pressing that you've seen in the chat or that people are raising their hands to ask about, Shannon?
Yes, there is a question here regarding, I'll just read the question. What, if any, negative impact does AI have on accuracy of searches?
Oh, well, of course, we know that artificial intelligence makes mistakes just like humans make mistakes. And so you saw that transcript that I shared here. Let me go back to it. We are integrating in the way of that transcript. AI did the transcription here, but it may be incorrect. And so we have invited the public to be able to update that transcript if they can read it and see that it does a better job, and that will better train AI. But for the most part, I mean, it is nailing these names and finding these individuals in these localities in ways that it hasn't been before. But with AI and every, every time you deal with AI, you need to be cautious and understand there could be mistakes. And so don't take it as this is the absolute source. Evaluate the source on many different, factors to determine if this is an accurate source that describes, for example, the ancestor that you're looking for.
And I would just add to that, that you do have the opportunity in this system to actually revise the transcription.
Yes, exactly.
And so you can correct this for the next person that comes after you, which I do from time to time when I'm led to a document that is not what I was expecting and the transcription is inaccurate. But moving right along, there's one more question in the chat. What if you have a name and a year that they were free, but want to find the plantation? I assume that's a discussion regarding enslaved ancestors. Do you have an answer for that?
Well, let me answer it this way. Because it is a Boolean search, meaning you can go back. I'll go back kind of some slides here and show you. Actually, I'll show you on the real page. You can put in so many keywords. You can put in years, you can put in location. You have, obviously, you can search these localities, you can do years, things like that, names, other keywords, and other types of searches. And so I really encourage you to come to this page. They've got some some advanced search tips and other information that can help you specifically determine the best way to go about searching. And so maybe you are looking for someone who was manumitted or free at a certain period of time. They may still be in certain records that are part of full text search. It isn't just, historical old records. I mean, there's some contemporary records that are available as well. Contemporary meaning in the, early 20th century and things like that that are here. That you can find through full text search. And it's growing every day. I wish I could tell you what collections keep getting added, but I find I find some gems every week. I found one this week. Someone was asking me about some records in a Louisiana parish. I had no idea that they were available on full text search, but searching our collection, I was able to actually look at a specific parish, a specific mortgage document, and I was able to identify in that document the slaveholding ancestor that was in that document that someone just wanted me to confirm if that was there. I mean, and I had no idea that we had, I can't even say the name of the parish because Louisiana parish names have some weird pronunciations, and I haven't got them yet. That's why I need y'all in the GU 272 Descendants Association to help my pronunciation of Louisiana parishes. So anyway, I'll move on. Thank you for those questions. And if you have other questions, we can obviously talk about those at the end as well. The Freedmen's Bureau Record Search is another product. Now, this one's been around for quite a while, and so you may already know of it. Many of your advanced people, I know of some friends who are more in the advanced category of genealogists that are on here today, are very familiar with this. But since you had to talk about the Oprah Winfrey Theater, I had to show the picture when I was able to speak on the Oprah Winfrey Theater stage with Rex Ellis back in 2016 at the end of the Freedmen's Bureau project. Thanks to all of you and all the records that we're able to make available through that project. But I hope to be back there again. So Edwina, Lisa, Hannah, well, hopefully I can join you there. But we created this page once we got all those records from the Freedmen's Bureau project together. We created this page that kind of mirrors that African American landing page, where it is a curated search form, meaning it is specifically tailored to all the Freedmen's Bureau collections that we indexed, and it only searches those. So it's not a broad search of family search at whole. It's just only looking in these records, and it's just looking for those that have been indexed. This doesn't include yet the full text search component of those that weren't indexed. but I'll just for historical purposes, I'll show you. For example, I threw in the name Thomas Reed in 1870 in Washington, D.C., and click a search on here, and it yields these 24 different results. And I was really interested in this one labor contract, indenture, apprenticeship record, and I wanted to go take a look at it. And so I went ahead and clicked on the paper to see the index and the image. And here is the index in the image of Thomas Reed. It's considered a military correspondence. And there is name 39, Thomas Reed. So I was around in 1860 whatever. Anyway, no, I'm just kidding. That is not me. That is just an arbitrary name just to demonstrate how you use this search feature on discoverfriedman.org. So it's on your handout, hopefully that you got, but if not, remember you can come to discoverfriedman.org and do this kind of search. I doubt there'll be too many questions about this. Anything, Shannon? Should I continue?
Well, we do have someone who has raised their hand.
Oh, please.
Wombs, wells, and waterways.
Hello. I just wanted to, you may have tapped into it a little bit, but I was interested in finding out how we can learn a little bit more about what's included in what records are included in the full text search, and if this is a continuation of there was some type of experimental beta lab
Yes.
that is this kind of like
Yeah.
it's what it came of that?
Yeah. I'll answer the second question and then the first question. So
Can
going
I
back
add something? Can I
yeah,
add something to that?
please,
Just
please.
so I won't take up too much. And so when you did the search, is it more, when you finally get to the full text search, is it better to be more specific or more general? And that's
That's a good question. It depends on what you're looking for, right? And how much information you know. So obviously the more specific, the better, but the more specific, the more likelihood that you will not find the results you're looking for, right? Because you may include a term or a keyword that isn't in what you're looking for. And so I try both. I'd try first specifically, don't get any hits. Let's back it up and make it more general and see what hits and then refine it down from there. So FamilySearch, the full text search came out of a new project that FamilySearch has been doing called Labs. And that's what it was. It was in beta format, if you will, meaning that the production team that was working on it, the engineers that were working on it, were still fixing things behind the scenes. It is no longer in labs. It is a fully functioning, fully supported product on FamilySearch. It does not require you to enable the experiment that was necessary back in the labs environment. Like I said before, you can get to it simply by going search, full text, and you'll come back to this full text page, right? Now, your second question was, what collections have been added to it? It's here. So you can see it. You can search for a specific collection, or you can see all the collections that have been added to full text search. So Alaska Wills and Deeds with 436,002 records has been added to full text search. And you can see there's 591 pages if you do results 10 per page. But if you're interested in a specific collection, right now there's 5,908 different FamilySearch record collections that are in the full text search platform to allow you to search those records. And it shows you when they were last updated. So for example, Algeria Annaba biographies, 1799 to 1969, only had 125 of those, but that was most updated the 17th of September. So just here recently. Okay. By the way, I don't play in this very much, so I just demoed something that I hadn't even seen, and it just happened to work out. So thank you for your question, because I learned something too today. So I appreciate that. I'm going to go on now. We've talked about the products, but now I want to talk about a couple of features And these are some simple ways to kind of, if you're in FamilySearch using it, how can you make the best of your experience? Or to your point, the question that you just asked about, a wide search and narrowing it down to the specific, individual that you're looking for. Well, we have enabled filtering search results by race. And for example, in the 1900 US Census, I can, this is a collection, and I can go looking for a specific person. So I want to find the Black Tom Pruitt in the 1900 US Census, right? And so I put the name in there. The place is Arkansas, and I go ahead and do my search. And the search yields 53 results. Now that means I'll probably need to go through 53 results to see if who that is and if that's my guy. One thing I've not denoted in my search is the fact that I'm looking for my ancestor who I believe would have been enumerated or documented as Black, Negro, colored, something African American, right? And so out of these 53, I don't want to spend the time going through every single one to figure out if it's the right one. I want to use some of the resources on this page. Let me make sure it's working. To denote race. If you see in the upper right, there is ways to filter the search results by race. And I click on race, and there is a bit of a warning about the language and content that's used on FamilySearch records were from how they were documented by the creators of the historical records. So although there may be some terms that may be racially offensive today, we maintain the integrity of the historical record by carrying that forward today and allow you to search for that. And so just be aware that that could be the case. And so in this case, there's a drop down, and this drop down is single selection only. And in this case, I want to go ahead, you see all these different ones that you can do, but you can only select one racial designation from any of the census records in 1900 and how people were enumerated in there. And so in my case, I wanted to see the Black Tom Pruitt. And so I select that, and then I go ahead and hit search, and boom, it filters the result. Now you'll see there's a box up at the top that says race Black, Tom Pruitt, Arkansas, and now the results are 5, not 53. So that in and of itself helps me find my ancestor quicker by filtering those filtering by race, because there was 53 before and I don't have to click on 53 to find it. Now I have 5 to choose from, and sure enough, he shows up here. And that's the ancestor I'm looking for. But wait, there's more. I feel like the ShamWow guy or something like that. There is a second way to filter by race that allows you to use more than just one racial designation on that right side. So again, we're Tom Pruitt, Arkansas. We're looking for that information. And we had that one to look for race, but let's not go to that side. Let's go over to the left. And if you see underneath the filtered results in the collection lists, which is the 1900 census, there is a card or a little button that you can push that says race. And when I select it here, it gives the same warning about the language used in the content of the historical record, right? I can go ahead and apply that. And look, now I can see there were 47 that were designated as white, 5 designated as Black, and 1 unspecified out of that 53. And I can go ahead and click on that Black one there and apply it, right? And it will then show me the same setup that I had before. There's my guy, and there he is. Now filtering by race on the left side under that card allows you to select all the racial designations that you might want to. So you may find a record when you're searching for someone and you want to go see, okay, they might be Negro, they might be designated as colored, mulatto, and Black. And you want to check all of those because you're trying to find your ancestor and they may have been described a different way per various records. You can select those that way. So that's the filter by search results by race. Shannon, any questions I can answer along the way?
Yes, I do see that Brenda Dansel Jones has raised her hand.
Brenda.
Yes, thank you for acknowledging me. I'll try to make this as succinct as possible. I'm fairly new at this, but I've come across some wonderful information. And one of the things that has been hanging me up is the variations in spelling of people's names and the cross-referencing of the way it's spelled in one search, and maybe the location is close, but not exactly. So I guess the question
Mhm.
is, how do you get to the bottom of that? Because I think I have the right person, but I'm not sure.
I think, Brenda, you are asking the age-old question. And I appreciate you, being honest about kind of where you are in your genealogical research journey. Yes, that is clear. Spelling in sometimes I've heard it said that spelling doesn't count because from one census to the next. So, for example, in my family's, it was indexed. Somebody, when they indexed the record, said the name was Barino when the last name is Baines. And so that didn't seem, but I was able to match up the family, the location, like you said. Maybe the location's close. How do you resolve that? Really, it's just looking at multiple records and tying it together, or employing any of the 72 people who are on here to help you along the way to know what you can do. Or you're actually setting me up. You didn't know that you're setting me up for this, but I'm going to talk about one of the resources that FamilySearch has available is online genealogy consultations, where you can spend time with someone, specifically a research specialist from FamilySearch, that can take you through this. And also, you saw that you could schedule a time to do virtual consultations with our friends at the Smithsonian as well, and you can probably ask the same question there. So I can't demonstrate, I wasn't planning to demonstrate through this presentation how to deal with the name spellings. It's a known issue. You just have to work kind of through it, is what I've always been told. I hope
Thank you for
that
the
that
idea,
satisfies you
Jeff.
for the moment. So thank you. Okay. Let me go ahead and go on then to talk about other relations for enslaved persons. Okay. Again, this is where, well, let me start by this. I back in, oh my goodness, when was it? At the end of 2023, I'd been working with a contractor by her name's Cassandra Holland, and she was phenomenal. She helped us identify named enslaved individuals in the 1850 and 1860 U.S. slave schedules. Those of you familiar with those schedules know that typically Blacks were enumerated as an age, as a sex, and that's it, and a tick mark. But in some counties, the individuals who were enslaved were actually named. And so we pulled out the 4,287 enslaved people that have been named, indexed, and identified with their slaveholder between the 1850 and 1860 U.S. Census slave schedules. And that way you can enter a relationship between that slaveholder and the enslaved person in the FamilySearch family tree. And I'll show here as an example, okay? In this case, and let me see if I can, I've got to move a control here real quick. So William Hugh McDowell is the person in the FamilySearch family tree. In this case, in this example, he's the slaveholder that's been noted in the record, right? And so notice that I've added underneath the family relationships, he's got a child, Ivan McDowell, he shows the family he was born into, he had two sisters. But there's an other relationships box that's underneath the family details box on FamilySearch family tree. And that's where you're able to include individuals who have been enslaved by a slaveholder. We actually, in this case, again, added this Peter and added the source for it. And I can show you kind of how we went about doing that. So you go to add other relationship under this other relationships. And William Hugh McDowell is the person who you want to add a relationship to. In this case, you can select the different relationships: apprenticeship, employment. There's various relationships, right? There's military relationships and things like that. But in this case, we call this relationship enslavement. And we have, once you select enslavement, then it denotes William as the slaveholder and then the enslaved person that you want to add. And so you go and add the information for the enslaved person. In this case, we pulled this information. These were the enslaved people of William McDowell from the 1860 slave schedules in Virginia, Hampshire County, right? And so that's what it looks like. You see there. That was one of the very select few out of the 4,267 names. That was one of the very select few counties that had names of enslaved individuals in the 1860 slave schedule. And so from that, we were able to find Caroline. We're adding Caroline now to that. And all we have is her first name. And so that's FamilySearch Family Tree is going to search for another Caroline. It won't find any information on it. And now we have this relationship between Caroline, and the age at the time of the record, said that she was born around 1825. And so we assume that she is deceased today, and you can save that. And now you have Caroline added as another relationship. William, as you saw on the actual slave schedule, he had more enslaved people under his name. And so Caroline's now been added. And if you wanted to add more, you could add more and you could go back. Now, what I showed at the beginning with Peter was the actual adding of the source document and the reason for the other relationship. And this is just a caveat. I don't show it in this presentation, but more steps are necessary to attach sources from FamilySearch Family Tree, in this case, the 1860 slave schedule, as a source, and then add the reason why this other relationship is there between Carolyn and William McDowell. It's important that you do that because you're essentially, someone else probably put in William McDowell, and to have an additional relationship added may cause some concern for the person who created that entry in Family Tree. And as good genealogists and historians, we want to document where we got that information from, and attaching the source allows you to do that. So that is the other relationships. And again, I said you can follow those same steps. So you had Peter, Sally, Caroline, William, Abram, Daniel, Alice, and Sydney, all there from that could be added to that. So I'm going to pause and just see if there's some other questions. I see more things have been added to the chat, but I can't see the chat while I'm presenting. So Shannon, can you help me out here and let me know? Is there anything else? And it's okay if you don't have questions here.
Oh, well, I do see that there is one question that may have been answered already, but I will present it anyway. Does one filter encompass the others, like BM, Negro, colored, or do you need to choose them all?
You
I
need to
think you may
choose them
have
all.
already gotten to that.
Yeah. When we did the filtered and we did it on the left side where you could click all the cards, you click all of them, and that will encompass every one of them. If you do the drop down on the right, you can only select one at a time, and that's the only one that will show up.
Correct. And I think that was the last question that was placed in the
Okay.
chat.
So let me give you the kind of icing on the cake, if you will. You saw some great, products, some features within FamilySearch. Now I'm going to tell you about the Research Wiki and how, this is dated. Sorry, I didn't even, this is really dated. 27th of February, 2024. It's really, we've invested a lot of time in helping people with this online genealogical guide that just explains so much, helps you kind of with your research strategy, and really gives you the resources, where to go to find information on your ancestors from countries around the world. You heard earlier, I think it was Edwina said, when people come to the Smithsonian, to the Family History Center there, if they're doing international research, she refers them to FamilySearch. Well, I'm hoping Edwina uses the Research Wiki to guide people as well. I've had instances where, I've been asked to help people and I don't know how to do research in Puerto Rico or how to do research in Sweden. And somehow there's some information that's powerful and helpful on the research wiki. And so you can get to the research wiki by just using this URL or scanning the QR code that's there. Or you go to FamilySearch.org and go through the search menu on the top left side of the screen. So let me just show you what that looks like live. We'll go back. Let me move things here. If you come to Family Search to our homepage, then if you click search, and then where do you want to go look? Research Wiki. And then it comes up here and shows you the localities. You can search by location. You can jumpstart your research. You can do a myriad of things. For example, here you could do African American. And look, African American genealogy. I just started typing it and boom, I clicked on it and then click search. And here it is, our African American genealogy page. And it points you to African American genealogy records. Ask the Family Search community. We talked about that earlier, joining the community. And then here are some search strategies. Here are African American Bible details about those, compiled sources, things about finding aids at archives and libraries, and things like our African American digital bookshelf, right? That's another thing. I'll just click on it while we're here. But this gives you an idea of just even for African American, but it shows, state African American pages. So now you can look at South Carolina African American research page to get some tips on how do I search for an African American ancestor in South Carolina. It can give you some tips and what the resources that are available there. The African American digital bookshelf, I'm just going to pop it open in another thing here, was something we created that we've been digitizing books, and we would love to work with any libraries that you're well aware of that have books that are genealogically relevant and genealogically rich. We'd love to scan those books and make those available. And we identified that we had a lot in our catalog of digitized books that were specific for African American research, but they were hard to find. And so we put them all into this African American digital bookshelf page. And you can see there's some that cover the entire United States, and it shows you sources beyond just Family Search. But if they're on Internet Archive, if they're on HathiTrust, if they're on Daughters of the American Revolution, Google Books, you've got all these, Library of Congress, you've got all these US, and then you've got them by state as well. If we have a digitized book that you can go look at and get more information. So here in Florida plantation records from the papers of George Noble Jones. That had been digitized, and that might be another resource that you can look at if you're trying to do research and you come across a George Noble Jones in your research that, who knows, they may be the slaveholder for your ancestor, and the information you've been looking for are in those digitized plantation records from this book that we put in the African American digital bookshelf. So that's really it. I'm gonna jump my slides here real quick and go through. I've shared all this here with you. I think African American digital bookshelf. Okay. So the Family Search blog also, we write articles that are hopefully easy to digest and understand about various topics related to African American genealogy. And so if you wanted to go to this blog page, you could scan the QR code or click on the link, or I said it before, if you got the handout, you have the link to this as well. But this will take you to some interesting resources on that we have, things that we've written about African American heroes everyone should know, Black History Month, finding family history and Freedmen Bureau records, some things about the transatlantic slave trade. Some of these have been written by, obviously you see my name here, and from others within Family Search, but also from those in the industry, and other researchers have written things that we put on our Family Search blog that may be relevant and helpful for you. So I encourage you to not only come to the blog, but you can subscribe to blog updates as well and get details. So here's a question. I didn't plan a poll, and I did this in a room before, but what blog post was featured earlier in this presentation that was related to African American family history research? Does anybody remember? I talked about the 1860 and 1850 U.S. Census slave schedules, and the updates that we've made to be able to find the names of enslaved individuals that was actually indexed or that was added, enumerated and indexed. So help you find your hopefully enslaved ancestors if they're in the counties that were covered, right? And oh, this one, don't worry about it. This was 10 million names. I forgot. I was supposed to delete those slides. You didn't see those. Okay. Last but not least, online genealogy consultations. This is a way that you can get a 20-minute consultation via Zoom. And if you want to talk DNA, you get 40 minutes. And it helps you kind of with, guiding you in your research, giving you some methodology and next steps and tips and things like that. It's focused on geographical areas, so you can use the Southern United States or the state of Virginia or, some other locality, DNA, or just on FamilySearch in general. And if you're new, then to FamilySearch, then, we can help you with navigating FamilySearch and stuff like that. If you want DNA, select DNA, things like that. So here's kind of the page that you go to, again, in your handout. Scan the QR code on this page now or screenshot this so you have the link. But if you come to this page, you can get kind of the frequently asked questions about online consultations, and then you can actually schedule a time to meet with someone over Zoom, and then you can select your area of research, for example, United States and Canada. And then if you did that, then you can select African American research or a specific state. And they'll ask you for as many details as you want to provide to be able to help them, to help you when they reach out to you to have your session. Yeah, so that's online genealogy consultation. This was something that was born out of, obviously, during the pandemic when we were shut down and wanted to provide value, that we've kept doing. Those who provide assistance are research specialists with FamilySearch, many who are certified or credentialed in some way, accredited or certified, and really have greater expertise than I do, and are true researchers. They're looking at this stuff every day and trying to solve genealogical mysteries for many people. And so I don't do as much research as probably many of you on this webinar do. And so you'll be talking to the right people when you set up a virtual consultation, and hopefully they can help. So I'll just, since I'm at the end of my presentation now, I'll go ahead and just summarize again the things that we looked at in terms of landing pages, full text search, and the Freedmen's Bureau record search, which includes Freedmen Bank records, by the way, if I didn't say that earlier. Filtering search results by race and adding other relationships for enslaved people, and then looking at the research wiki, the blog, and online genealogy consultations. So I am happy now to just open it up broadly for questions. Please raise your hand.
Wonderful.
I see we still have a hand up from Wombs, Wells, and Waterways. I don't know if that's from earlier or that's a new question.
It's a new question, and it's more around the future of FamilySearch. I'm curious as to what your thoughts are in terms of now that AI is in the mix, if there's something around translating documents into English, and also is there a certain process or pathway that helps maybe inform FamilySearch of areas that may have records that have not entered the main flow of digitization, and how that works?
Yes. Okay. 1, if you've come across any records that you want us to look at, email me. So you have my email. It's just Thom, THOM, @FamilySearch.org. 2, how we are doing with AI. So I told you I found this record in Louisiana. It was actually in French. And because it was in French, I went ahead and grabbed the transcription, and then I went out to Copilot, which we use as an enterprise software, to be able to translate it, so I'd be able to read and make sure I understood what I was looking at because it was written in French. we're actually adding the capability with full text search to be able to read the transcription in multiple languages. So not just the language that the historical record was created in, but the language of the patron who wants to view that can also be switched as well. And so languages will be, more languages will be supported. Right now, I know we've got French, Spanish, and English, but more languages will be incorporated into all the records that have been added to full text search. And therefore the transcripts will be available in a language that even I can read. So. Yes. You need it, like Shannon said, you got to be ready for Spanish or French in Louisiana.
Yes, and so now is our question and answer period. So anyone who has questions, feel free to jump in and ask. And yes, feel free to unmute yourself to ask your question. And also feel free to turn on your video if you think you need to do so. And yes, you can ask questions about anything that was discussed today.
Or anything family search related. Tony.
Hi, I just wonder, is there anyone that's kind of covering like North Carolina research, you know, as far as like African Americans? Because I've looked through there and kind of get stuck, and I've called down to over in Anson, and I talked to someone in over that area, and gave him the information that I have, and he's doesn't have the connection that he's that he should have, that I feel like that he should have.
I think there are two individuals who have made themselves known by hearting your question, Tony, as having expertise in North Carolina African American research. And so that's Renata Sanders, who's on here, and she's got extensive. There's several folks who do North Carolina. In fact, Renata, are you in a position to come off mute and speak at all? Because I know you've done kind of regular programming around North Carolina research.
Yes. Hello. Good. What is it? Afternoon for us here in Virginia. I was just trying to grab the link for Let's Talk North Carolina Genealogy, where she can check out a series of, or everyone can check out a series of videos that we have specific to North Carolina research, but not particularly just to African American research. But there are a few of us that do speak specific to African American research, and I'm not sure where the questioner is located, but we actually have an African American focused activity happening at the North Carolina Archives and Library next Saturday, October 4th. I believe it's from 9 to 1 or 9 to something. I'm speaking and Desi Campbell is speaking, and then there's a third speaker. But if the person would like to reach out to me, I can link them to some more definitive African American research programs just around North Carolina, and I'd also be able to willing to try to help them with whatever it is they're looking for. So my email is, I'll put that in the chat too, but it's yarsan@aol.com.
Okay.
And please, Tony, there's others who kind of said the same, that they have North Carolina research, capabilities and things like that. I just know Renata personally and know what she's done. So I had to give you a shout out on here, but there's
Well,
several
thanks
folks
for
that
that.
reach out. And it's the power of community. I talked earlier about using the family search communities. And, I mean, just again, there's, you can use the research wiki on family search when you get stuck, all that kind of stuff. So in the chat now is the link to the YouTube series on North Carolina genealogy and things like that. And Renata, I'm going to miss you by like 3 days because I'm going to be in Charlotte, I think on the 7th.
Oh, wow. Okay.
and I'm not going to be able to get up to the archives this time. I'm obviously going to be in South Carolina more of that week. So any information on research in Mississippi? Yes.
Oh,
So Vaughn,
Tom.
oh, please.
Yeah, just
please,
want to interject. I just put in the chat. If anyone is researching free Black families of North Carolina, Professor Warren Miltier, who we have hosted and is on our playlist on the museum's website. He has written books extensively on free Black families of North Carolina.
Oh, that is awesome.
Yes, he's
Awesome. Lisa,
wonderful.
thank you so much for that extra resource there.
Yes.
Vaughn asked in the chat, any information on research in Mississippi? Now, I don't know if we necessarily need to address that specifically, but there's, use the FamilySearch Research Wiki. Go ahead and join the FamilySearch community. Any information on Alabama? I know there's, I see people who represent various genealogical societies and communities that are on here as well. And so I don't know how we can make sure, everybody gets connected, but look at the chat. People are throwing out, Lisa, thank you, Melvin, of course, in Mississippi. You also have there Sharon Morgan in Mississippi as well. Alabama, oh my gosh, there's so many people. Louisiana, we all know individuals that do this research and can help out. And so I don't know if there's any way we can connect individuals, Shannon, through the descendant community to various resources you can provide. That's not something specifically me, FamilySearch. I just happen to know people because I'm in the industry with all of y'all, right? But maybe there's something that through the Trees blog or the descendant community can send out to everyone, kind of some experts in the states, so that people can reach out to those individuals if they need assistance.
That's an excellent idea. Thank you ever so much for that.
Okay. Any other hands up?
I do not see any other hands at this moment.
Hopefully that means I did a
Well,
good job, or you got so many questions you just don't know what to answer, what to
well,
ask.
we do have one hand that has been raised. Rochelle.
So, good afternoon, everyone. Yes, I'm listed as Juju's BB, but I am Rochelle Sanders Prater. I want to personally thank you, Tom, as well as Lisa, Edwina, and Hannah. I am the executive director of the GU272 Descendants Association, which I want to share very soon. We'll be able to share our new name. We have a new logo that's more inclusive of the history of the Jesuit enslaved. And I just had a couple of comments I wanted to say in beyond the thank yous and appreciation. We really appreciate it. I wanted to kind of talk about how important this effort is, right? I know in collecting the documentation for my family, for which one of my branches in this Jesuit enslavement history was my great grandfather, Jackson Hawkins. I had the honor and privilege of being in the courthouse in Ippaville Parish. I was looking for something else, and by the grace of the Most High God, I came across their marriage record and of my great grandfather who was enslaved to his bride, um, Mary. And I have to tell everybody on this call that there is something very emotional and it's like searching for literal gold. To have that document, a copy of that document in my possession is everything. So I want to be very clear with the novice that's on this call that looking and digging up these nuggets are priceless. I get to share this with Juju, my granddaughter, who I always give homage to. So I want to thank you guys. You have no idea the work that you do and the expertise that you guys bring to the table, how touching this is. And I just want to encourage everybody on this to continue. And it's important for us to have possessions of these documents ourselves. Yes, there are, I'm going to say it, I'm going to be real. Yes, there are some descendants who just want to know that, yeah, I'm connected to the history, and that's good enough for them. But I have to tell you, we're doing a real disjustice to our babies who have yet to be born if we take that attitude. So again, thank you guys. Thank you, thank you, thank you.
Thank
Appreciate
you
that
ever
so much.
so much for that.
Appreciate that.
That's
Just
nice.
happy to be able to support it. It is, uh, uh, Family Search is sponsored by the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. So I'm a man of faith, and this is a deeply spiritual work for me. And I'm glad you recognize that and the importance of making sure we document and have our history in our way so we can share it with our people. And no one else gets to take that away from us once we know it. So keep out there, whatever I can do, Family Search can do. I'm big fans of the industry, so others in the industry, Ancestry and Nika, and many of you know Nika. We hope that everyone is successful and that we can pool our resources to enable everyone to have these discovery experiences and connect with their ancestors. So thank you, Shannon, for having me here today and inviting me to be a part of this. This has been helpful for me so much. I learned some new stuff about full text search that I didn't know before. and just I gained so much from just being with the community as well, and all the resources and all the knowledge that's there. So please, let's share it, everyone. Let's just share it.
Oh, well, thank you ever so much for coming. We are all very much appreciative for all of our speakers who have been with us today. And
Shannon, I'm sorry. I'm sorry for the interrupt. I forgot the most important person of all. Thank you, Shannon, for getting this together. I forgot. And yes, Rhonda will be the recording link. Typically, what I do is upload this to YouTube, but we'll make sure you get the link for sure.
MJ.
Yes, everyone will receive the link to the recording of today's session via email after today. You will also be
Shannon,
notified.
does that include the chat as well? There were several links and resources that were added in the chat. So everyone will get a link to the YouTube and the chat.
Absolutely.
Yes.
I usually take and make sure that the pertinent links and so forth are
Okay.
included in the
Y'all on
description.
it.
I also wanted to invite Karen. I see where she made a comment. Karen, can you just come out and speak about your Thursday night group, if you would? Just in case somebody not looking at the chat.
Sure. Thank you. At first
You're
of all,
welcome.
thank you for this program, and thank you to all of the speakers. We meet every Thursday night via Zoom, and we help people go through their DNA and figure out how they may be related to descendants of Jesuit enslavement. It's a hands-on, basically crowdsource informal type of a meeting. And we're just there very consistently on Thursday nights just to help people understand their connection if they find that they're related to one of the Georgetown Memory Project kids or to one of the known descendants. We try to do what we can to help them walk through that process and understand it. And people sometimes they come every week, they don't say anything, but they say they're learning from what we're doing. And we have Jerome Spears, who goes deep into the DNA and helps people understand how to work through GEDmatch. We have Nages Rucker, who is a Marilyn Mahoney descendant, who is very good with historical records. And we just want to help people understand how they may be connected to the history. Thank you.
Karen, put the link in the chat because the whatever .org didn't work. So can you put the actual link in there, please?
Sure.
Yes, Robin, that was for you, by the way. I also wanted to say the presentation that Hannah and team did that you mentioned. Well, that wasn't somebody. I'm sorry, I apologize. That was actually you, Tom. When you mentioned Muhammad Ali, there could be a possible connection to that history because there were a big wide this diaspora of Jesuit enslavement in Kentucky. Christopher Smothers just did some research there. He's not on the line. I was hoping he would be here because I can't think of the name of the organization that has a database about that. So thank you, Karen. So I'm gonna leave. Thank you everyone who joined us. We appreciate you. And Shannon, you can speak to the future series if you have any information on that. I'm not sure.
Absolutely. So we do intend to have at least one other episode for this series in the next few weeks, and we will ensure that you receive an email with details allowing you to register for our next episode. We are so glad that so many of you were able to register and come out for today's affair. And I'm sure that you're going to look forward to our next episode, which will involve learning about the resources available at the University of North Carolina, Chapel Hill's library, the Wilson Library, to be more precise. And we also are intending to potentially provide some additional resources regarding oral history projects that might be of interest to you. So please pay attention to your email and to your social media if you still work with it. And are there any additional questions, comments, or concerns for any of our speakers here today? Speak once. Now, or forever hold your peace. All right. Well, once again, I want to thank everyone for attending and making this a lively and engaging event today. And all the thanks go out to everyone who helped to push this together, and especially to our speakers who provided a fountain of information that will keep many of us afloat for some time to come, thinking about new ways to find new information that gives more context and depth to the stories of our ancestors' lives. I know that when we first come to genealogy, it's all about building the skeleton of the ancestral narrative. It's all about the censuses as the vital records. And then from there, we branch out into newspapers, wills, estates, probate records, deeds, etc., to put meat on the bones and to flesh out what actually happened to whom, when, and where. And several of the tools that were mentioned here today are especially useful for that purpose. Now, we talked about full text search at FamilySearch, but we should also note that there is a transcription project that has been taking place with the National Museum of African American History and Culture for some time, involving the Freedmen's Bureau records, which then allows you to do a full text search of those records there. I know this very well because I wrote the capstone for my second master's on the Freedmen's Bureau. And I used all of these resources and got to learn which site was best for what. And I think what I learned from it all was that Ancestry is really great for attaching Freedmen's Bureau records to your family tree. And FamilySearch was great for having the best citations for the Freedmen's Bureau records. And for doing, at that time, a full text search, the records available at the National Museum of African American History and Culture was the best for that at that time. And it was really amazing because the other issue that I don't think was touched on today is that there are a lot of people who see the Freedmen's Bureau records as some sort of clearinghouse for all African Americans right after slavery. It was not. Many researchers find that they have a sprinkling of ancestors that are named in those records, but most of them are not. So just keep that in mind. And with that, I will say, have a super Saturday, and we look forward to seeing each and every one of you at our next event. Thank you ever so much. Bye-bye now.